does when we on there that I don't know if I have the capability to do.
No, you don't have the capability to do any of that stuff. Okay, we on
Right.
live now. We on live.
Hey, great morning, great morning.
No, you're not. No,
Oh,
no,
we're
no,
not.
not
Oh, it's
yet.
just you got to do the intro.
Right. I thought they were gonna have music out here.
I was gonna say make sure you're not on your FaceTime camera, but that shouldn't have nothing to do with it. Okay, all right, bye. Hey, what's going on?
It's Are we live or was it the intro?
They like the intros on and they can hear our conversation. So you,
Because I see the thing say it's got the
yep, but it's
intro.
live. It's live, and they can hear us talking.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Well, I mean, I'm at a convention. I mean, I'm at an engagement. So I told Levette to host, but I'm not. I don't know when I'm gonna have to get up and speak, so I won't be able to do any maneuver anything. You not home? Okay, if you could please, because I'm not available. I got them started. Okay.
So good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh, we're not. Okay.
She's like, we got the stuff that those persons people, which they pulled y'all in cash out.
But good morning, good morning, good morning to all of you that has joined us. We are live once again, with another session of the conversation with the guys, coming from the platform of Build Your Best Life by the one coach, Deborah Smith. And I'm excited and glad about our conversation today. We have a great topic for today. But before we get into our topic, we're gonna have allow our guest to introduce himself, Mr. Furman Jackson Jr. And then if the Deacon Dan can tell us a little bit about yourself.
And also, I want to thank y'all once again for allowing me to be on this historical platform. Of course, I enjoy these type of discussions. Of course, Dr. Joseph said, my name is Furman Jackson Jr. I'm the host of two podcasts. One is the Walking His Ways podcast, which I live stream on Tuesday, and also the one I just started here with Larissa Franklin, the Just Saying podcast. I've been doing this since 2009. Been in ministry, I guess you want to say sit in. But I just want to thank y'all for this opportunity. Like I said, originally I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I've been living in the DFW. Matter of fact, December 18th will make it 5 years this month. So I just thank God for being here. I thank God for this connection. I'm looking forward to this great conversation that's going to truly, truly, I think, going to bless some people this morning.
All right, all right. And Deacon Dan, if you can go ahead and share with us a little bit about yourself. Okay, we may seem to be having a little technical difficulty with Deacon Dan at the moment, but while he's getting back in, I'll go ahead and share with you what today's topic is about. Today we're coming with a topic entitled "From Boys to Men." From boys to men. That's a critical time in our life for us being men. It's going from transitioning from boys to men. And today we're going to highlight some things in that'll help us as we transition in our life from boys to men. So we'll go ahead and get started at the moment. It's just me and Furman, but hey, we'll get it going until Deacon Dan can come on in with us. So the first question I have for you, Brother Furman, is: do you think today's young men have enough defining moments that prepare them for manhood? And
Uh,
why or why not?
for one, I look that we are in danger. I do look at that. I want to stay with the question. I see a lack of identity, a lack of awareness, if that makes sense, Dr. Joseph,
Yes, sir.
on that scenario. It made me think about the scripture, and I don't have it in front of me. I know in Exodus, I remember Pharaoh had put out, and everybody need to read about this. It reminded me about Pharaoh when Pharaoh ordered the ladies, the women, if they had sons, to kill them and let the daughters live. And that kind of remind me what's going on today. We see a lot of our young boys are dying spiritually, but we see that our ladies, our women are taking on a more masculine role now because of the lack of danger in. If that makes sense, help me out with this. But I just see that it's a lot of work to be done. I see it's a lot of lack of awareness that's taking place in our society and our culture.
Yes, and I agree with that. And I kind of answered that question myself as a yes and no because there's a lot of mentoring programs out there for young men. There's a lot of them out there. But the problem is a lot of times it's getting those young men to engage in those mentoring programs. If you look in many communities, either coming from churches, they may be some form of different organizations that start some type of mentoring program, and they have that opportunity to get into that. But we're going to talk a little more later about why that's an issue sometimes. But when you think about that, becoming a man, a lot of time when I go to the no part of that is that boys have been raised by single mothers, and
Right,
being that they're raised by single mothers, a lot of time they don't always see that fathering. They don't see how a man actually shapes the family, how a man rears the family, how a man leads the family. They
right,
don't get to see a proper format or proper accountability coming from a man to show them what it is to be a man and how to handle all the different situations that come with being a man. So I think sometimes that's what kind of stifles the defining moments. So that's our first question. We got through that one pretty good there, Mr. Furman. So
yes,
let's
sir.
go ahead on and go to our second one. Next question is: what eternal qualities mark the shift from boyhood to manhood? What eternal qualities mark the
Um,
shift?
well, I do say this. I say going back to our foundation is really going back into the Word of God, and just really going back to when God made us in His image after His likeness, and just really going back to the foundation. I know you mentioned that a lot of our young men are being raised by single mothers, um, and we see that how the role play when you have that man involved. I know you mentioned something about the mentor programs, as well, and it's all about going back to lead by example. I do want to stay on point with it, but just really going back to lead by example, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes great sense. And to go along with that, a lot of times I looked at responsibility, I looked at accountability,
Right,
and then I looked at moral strength. in adjusting to systems. You know, it because a lot of these systems, sometimes we've always believed a lot of time in African American community that a
Yes, sir.
lot of these systems sometimes don't turn out to be just for us as African American men. In other words, they may not get the same chances as other races may get. You know, so in that sometimes that hurts them. You know, that hurts their that's what allows them not um, to have the gain the qualities that they
Hmm.
need in order to advance going into a manhood. And so I mean, and that's a really good point. So when you think about those internal qualities, and like I mentioned, responsibility and accountability. Furman, how do you think that those play just them two things right there? How do you think they play into those internal factors for young boys going to men?
It helps them grow. It helps them evolve, and that's something that we much needed. And I noticed, Dr. Joseph, the lack of that, and I noticed how a lot of them take offense to what you say, and I know it helps to grow and evolve.
Yeah.
But just going back to the accountability aspect, get away from. We see a lot of our young boys are surrounded around yes people. When I say yes people, they around people who tells them what they want to hear instead of tell them what they need to hear. If that makes sense, because that accountability that we're needed is very much needed, and that's going to help us grow even further as men. And also, it helps these young boys grow as well when you show them and teach them about accountability and teach them about responsibility, because we have lost that. And I notice um, the lack of urgency I see amongst our young boys now. I don't see they don't take the initiative like we did, because I'm a millennial. I was born in 1982, so I had my parents. They were baby boomers, but I'm thankful for my parents. But I just noticed now the lack of responsibility, the lack of accountability. They're so easily offended now, and why is that?
That's the question right there. And I think a lot of that just comes from really the change in culture. A lot of things in just our culture in general changed, and that's what has and and because of the changes that have came about, you know, we as adults and me, you know, me being a baby boomer, you know, we sometimes drop the ball a little bit on that because we started going, you know, when we started raising our kids and saying, "Oh yeah, I'm not gonna be as stern on my kids as my parents were on me." And
Right,
when we started developing that mindset, we started being lighter in how we even discipline, you know, and how we bring out those things, those qualities, making sure that when they go to school, they know how to act. When they out in public, they know how to act. How they talk to other adults.
correct,
You, those are the things. Those things right there were lost a lot of somewhat in as we transition from the baby boomers even up to the millennials and the Gen Zs and all of that. We and it's gotten a little lesser each time through each generation. It's gotten even lesser because people will think that it's supposed to be better when in essence it really has gotten probably a little worse. But
right.
you know, so we have to take blame for for our involvement in that because we could have made some better choices and for our kids than that we made. But you know, that's just something else to look at. So let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
So what pressures or distractions make it harder for young men to mature today?
Social media, social media. I say social media. Um, Social media has lied to us, Dr. Joseph, so much. And a lot of these young men are seeing fantasy, they're not seeing reality. Uh,
Right.
we see the type of content that goes out today for and some of these things, especially for young boys. I think some information is bad, some good, but a lot of the majority bad. They're teaching these young men high value man. It's all about a woman. They teach them that women are bad. They teach them all this stuff. They teaching them, go to the gym, work out. They teaching them to get your money up, get your status up, and not teaching them about who they are, not teaching them about who you are as a man. I know the Bible talks about how a good name is better than riches. Going back to establishing who you are as men, going back to establishing who you are as a man. And we lost those principles, we lost those values. And I thank God for my parents. They are part of the baby boomer generation. They especially my dad. My dad taught me and my brothers, hey, get up, go to work, provide. That was it. But we never had that emotional. Hit me out with this one, Dr. Joe. That emotional connection when it comes to father son. We were just taught, hey, go out there, work, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and that's it. But we didn't have that emotional attachment. That makes sense. Hit me out with that, Dr. Joseph, if that really makes sense.
That you are right on point. I had social media too, because social media is a driving force, because social media really creates a false narrative of what life is. And so many we see that so many young men try to live their life through social media, thinking that that's going to gain them the acceptance that they need. Because you can go, it's like performing. You can go on social media and you can make something seem as though it's real, when in our reality it ain't real.
Mm.
That's why so many of our young men get caught. And I wish Deacon Dan was on here, because he could talk about that, how so many of our young men get caught in a lot of their crimes from social media. It ain't even
Right.
just it ain't even that's the physical evidence that's on the scene. It's them on Facebook talking about it. It's them, threatening people. It's them doing all of this stuff, and even filming their guns on TV, filming
Oh
the
yeah.
same gun that they use, or, all of this. And that's why social media is a big thing. And, one of the things I'll add to that, Brother Furman, is that, a lot of times your boys don't know how to distinguish between control and leadership.
Oh yeah.
That's They don't know how to distinguish between control, and what I mean by that is, like, control is when they watch, like, say for instance, a young man that's growing up in a single mother home, and he may see several different guys over the course of years, and he see these guys trying to control his mom, and so they don't know how to distinguish, to be control rather than being the leader of the family, how
Mm.
to lead the family, how to lead the family properly. All he know is, okay, this how we supposed to do. We supposed to get control over these women, and all of that. And they develop, and they get that false sense of of trying to be a man, and that's not what being a man is about. But that's what they see, and a lot of times what people see growing up is what a lot of times they more than likely will repeat. um,
Right.
that's that's just a fact of life. So when we look at that there's pressures. So what would you say would be a big distraction? What would you say would be a big distraction to just making it harder for them to mature?
The disappointment, Dr. Joseph. I said
Yes.
I work in corrections. I work for the Dallas County Sheriff Department. I work inside the jail. So we see a lot of our young men are being more incarcerated at 18 years old. I had a
Wow.
conversation with a young man. He was locked up. He was on my floor. He was so angry, Dr. Joseph, so angry, banging and cussing and just throwing temper tantrums. And I asked this young man, he was cussing up a storm. He was saying everything but a child of God, right?
Yeah.
So I asked this young man, why are you so angry? He said, it goes back to my parents. So now
Wow.
we're getting somewhere. And he was like, I was going to talk to people and I'll be trying to get the officer attention. They sit there and ignore me. And he said, you the only one sit there and listen to me, because the Bible does say, be quick to hear and slow to speak. But getting to
Yes.
the more of the
Yes.
story, these young men, Dr. J, is very, very angry and bitter and frustrated and disappointed. And it's hard for them to confide in people and trust in people because of their background and their history, if that makes sense on what I'm saying.
Yes.
But
Yes.
a lot of these young men, Dr. J are very, very angry. But when that young man said, it goes back to my parents. And I was telling him, he's 18 years old, and I was telling him, and he got shot. Before he came to jail, he got shot in the knee. I think he was a attempted robbery or whatever. And I told this young man, I said, you ought to thank God that you still here. And he said, yeah, you're right. And he just got into it, and he just, and that spirit just came off of him, man. He felt so much better. And then I have another young guy. He's my trainee. He's the same age. Well, he's 19, and he started venting to this guy around his age group. And the officer that I work with, he said, "Yeah, man, he just needed to vent. He went from laughing to crying to talking, and he just felt so much better, Dr. Joseph, that he's, oh man, somebody who don't know me from Adam took time out of their schedule to listen to me. And this is what
Yes.
these young men are crying out. They're angry, but they're hurting, Dr. Joseph.
Wow.
They're hurting. They are frustrated. They are disappointed. And you gotta let these young men know that hey, there is more than life than this. And I told this young man, I said, okay, you can't. Okay, well, mom, dad, well, I don't know that. I don't know what have happened, but I told him use that as motivation to get better in life and put this stuff behind you because more and more, Dr. Joseph, we have a lot of young men are being incarcerated now. And I've been seeing this for a long time. Either they're being incarcerated or they're becoming homosexual now.
Yeah. And that is a big distraction. And some people may say that's more of a pressure than a distraction. But I think I'm glad you brought that out, Brother Furman, because that is a major distraction. So many men, they see so many young other brothers in jail. It's kind of like they don't have a fear of going to jail. They think
Right.
it's like, they think it's like it's something to be proud of that you got that under your belt. That like you can go out on the street and get street credit for being in jail, like that make you badder, it make you more tougher. But but I'm glad you brought that out. And one last little pressure before I move on to the next question. The one other pressure I look at is it's easy that a lot of times young boys see that it's harder to do what's right when no one is looking.
Yeah.
That's a pressure. They're trying to, it's harder to do what's right when people ain't looking. When people looking, you can, you might be a 50-50 even. But when people ain't looking, it's all on you. And
Mhm.
it's all on whether you decide to make the right choice or the right decision. So I mean, that's some good points that was brought up. And so here's another one I want to go to now. What are the signs that a young man is being pushed into manhood, even that's being pushed into manhood too early or too late?
Uh,
Wow.
I mean, we see like you mentioned earlier, single parent household. You didn't mention that earlier. We see a lot of that being forced to grow up, not experiencing childhood because of their circumstances, their upbringing. So they're being forced into it now, but they not have really established who they are. They never got a chance to establish or join our childhood. A lot of them never seen a healthy environment. They never seen a healthy marriage. They didn't see a healthy family. They didn't see a healthy household. A lot of them come from what poverty stricken backgrounds.
Hmm.
So they never really experienced that. So what it does, they grow up thinking how I was raised, this is how life's supposed to be until someone actually breaks that cycle. And I'm very glad to hear it's some young men who don't use single parent um as an
Okay.
excuse to for bad behavior. They use that added motivate. Look at LeBron James, for
What now?
example. He came from a single parent household, but look how he's well established,
Man,
family
put me.
man, putting in work with his kids, loving his wife. So
See, I'm down at the bottom.
guys have escaped
I'm
those
down at the bottom.
narratives of because you're a single parent household that you become an outcast.
Oh,
Deacon, Deacon Dan, you in?
yeah. Can you hear me?
I hear you, sir. I hear
Well,
you. Glad you could join us, man.
man, I tell you, it's been a rough day there.
Hey, I understand. I understand. We already gotten down. We was actually answering the question, what are the signs that a young man is being pushed into manhood too early? What's your thoughts on that?
And that was question
Number 5.
5.
Yeah, I did 5. I transpose 2 questions, so we're gonna go back to 4 in a minute. But I wanted to get 5 because we was right there.
Okay, well, in my thoughts, when he pushed too early, he may be forced to, an adult responsibility. It's like caring for a sibling or providing financially for a family before he has skills in the, skills and supports, or support. He becomes hardened or overwhelmed. When he's pushed too late, you see that the opposite: lack of responsibility, dependence on others to solve problems, avoid responsibility, or struggling to make a decision. I believe, balances comes when we guide your young men gradually and give them age appropriate leadership opportunities.
Yes, now that's good stuff. You guys are putting this stuff in good perspective because whenever a young man is getting pushed into manhood early, they run into all kind of little barriers. And you think about one of the things I thought about was when we tell kids when they 10 years old, and I've thought about this because I've done it, and you tell them you need to man up. You need to man up. How do a 10-year-old need to know how to man up?
Right.
We trying to push them into being a man without, and they don't understand even what a man is, and we telling them to man up. So that's one of the things we see. And then here's another one. One of those pressures to make money early,
Oh yeah.
even at the cost of their education. So that's why sometimes these young boys, they see that the money might be scarce in the home. And that ain't always just with a single parent. That can be with both parents in the home. And they see money is scarce and they go out there and say, and they see that easy money, the way to make that easy money. They go out there and they feel that pressure like I need, and they're not doing it so much because they want to do it. It's they feel the pressure that I need to help my family. My dad doing the best he can. Mom got a job, but it ain't making all the ends meet in the middle. So I got to go do my part. So they start feeling they 16 and they start out, maybe they may want to go out there and cut grass and do something that's honest, but then they say, hey, that ain't making us enough money fast enough. And somebody show them that way to make that fast money, and they go, that's what they'll choose. So that can always allow them to get pushed out there too early. And then I think what happens if they get pushed out there too late, if it's too late, and they, in their 30s and 40s trying to still be a man, a lot of times that come from a thing of them not being wanting to be corrected. They want to be you have to correct them more than you can coach them, because if they at that age now, they think they know it all.
Oh yeah,
So
we see
you
that a lot.
can't, yeah, you can't come back and correct them, and so it's hard to correct them. So that's a big thing. So with that being said, let me jump back to question 4, which said, what are some harmful versions of manhood that young men need to unlearn? Wow. Let's go with you first, Deacon Dan.
Well, I think one of the harmful versions is belief that being a man means being emotionless or silent.
Mm.
But another one is that manhood is proven through aggression, dominance, or sexual conquest.
Mm.
Some young men think that money makes the man. Well, no,
Wow.
they need to get that wrong.
Right.
Or that asking for help is a sign of weakness. Instead of them asking for help, they figure that's a sign of weakness. These ideas create unhealthy, insecure men. Real manhood is about strength of character, not bravo. So, but if they go out and do something and they're young, and it's a difference, and but we have to. That's where and they don't want to ask questions, they don't want to talk, they want to do it on their own. So they'll find out that's the hard way to do it. and let's lead them in the, you know, I think by being a local, that's leading to a lot of different difficulties and, you know, troubles, or they're being have a bad record, ruin their record or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Brother Furman, what is your take on that?
Uh, can y'all see me? I don't know what happened. I was showing on. I'm just all black.
Yeah,
But
there
can
you
y'all hear
go.
me?
Yes, we got you. Go ahead.
Okay. That I see that pressure, the added pressure, like you mentioned earlier, that pressure. Oh, I gotta make money. I gotta make money. I gotta chase the bag, and lose themselves in the process. Look at the incarceration rate. You know, like you mentioned earlier. Well, I said some prior to that. We see a lot of these young men looking like life in prison. Even a young
Hmm.
man I know looking at 40 years in prison at the age of 17. So now these young men, when they get out of being incarcerated, their whole mindset is being incarcerated. So they don't know where to go, how to live, how to do this, and how to do that. But the added pressure of I gotta do this for my family. I gotta do this in order to survive. And they're mostly when that's with that survival mode.
Hmm. Wow. You know, and to go along with that, one of the things I see that they need to do is anger. Anger is something they gotta unlearn.
Oh yeah.
uh, Anger, because they've experienced anger for different reasons all throughout their life. You know, to not having enough food to eat, to not going to school being picked on, being forced and pressured at school to join gangs or to do different things. Then seeing their mom go through different relationships if they come from a single home, a single mother home, and they see their mom going through different relationships, how men mistreat them, and all of this, and all of this is what eventually over time develop an anger in them. They just angry
Mm,
at the whole world. So I think anger is like one of those big things that they have to unlearn, you know. And then one of the things I thought about was that notion that everybody is out to get you. You know, I mean, I know sometimes even as African American young boys, sometimes they that stigmatism is put on them, whereas you know, um that somebody's out to get them. They're gonna try to get you. They're gonna Somebody out there gonna try to get you. You
mm,
know, and I don't mean like in violence, but I'm saying just somebody out there ain't gonna, like, if you in school, um you thinking, oh, they're not going to help you advance better, you
oh yeah.
know. They're not going to help you advance better because they out to get you because you're a young black man and you live in this neighborhood. So, you know, then that's what I mean by them stigmatisms. So sometimes, you know, that, and that's one of the things we need to let them know. It don't matter where you come from. You can be successful. You can thrive. You can in life. You don't have to fall into what they call the product of your environment.
I agree.
What you do is you adapt and you overcome. And you do that by doing good in school. You do that by listening to adults. You do that by getting you a good mentor and letting them walk you through the stages of life so you can fully understand what it is to transition from a boy to a man. And so that's my thoughts on that. And thank you guys. That was man, that was some great points. And people should be able to take that and run with it. All right. So here's the last question for the day. I'll tell you what, before we do that, I want to hear this one from Deacon Dan, because I know he got something good on it. I'm gonna go back to question number 3, Deacon Dan. What pressures or distractions make it harder for young men to mature today? Because I wanted to hear from you on this.
Hmm.
Well, I think one of the biggest is social media.
Okay.
It is the biggest pressure, you know, and social media show unrealistic lifestyle,
Yes.
and it create false timeless for success. And then, you know, I had heard you say that. Then there's peer pressure, and peer pressure that is fit in the gamut. You know, is the fit in. That's one of the problems. Gambling addiction,
Yes.
The culture of instant gratification and temptation to avoid responsibility. Because many of
Man.
our young men faces family stress, financial challenge, just lack of a strong role model. And I feel that all these make it easier to drift and hard to focus on growth. So that's one of the biggest things. When they get all the obstacles coming their way, it's hard for them to fall. They drift and they fall away. It's hard for you first, especially for a young man.
Listen, Deacon Dan, let me tell you this. Brother Furman started off exactly with that thing, social media. And that was number one on mine. So we were already, all three of us was in sync because we see it and we know what that primary thing is. But you know that one thing stuck out to me though, with that you were talking about that I didn't think about, we didn't think about earlier, that instant gratification.
Oh
When
yeah.
you
Oh
you
yeah.
talk about that instant gratification, I want it fast. I want it now, and
Right.
it's only gonna last for right now. It ain't gonna sustain you. Instant gratification it may seem good for the moment, but it will never sustain you. That's the important point we got to always remember. Instant gratification is just that. It's just a fast feeling you're gonna
Yep.
get. And then
Right.
once that feeling gone, you're gonna have to do something else to achieve that feeling again. And I don't mean that's drugs. That's just in life. If you go out there and get that fast money, okay, it might work this time and the next time and the next time. But when you get caught and you got all them drugs on you and you go to jail, look what you just sacrificed for that.
Right.
So I'm glad. Thanks. See, I knew I would need to go back and let Deacon Dan bring a little another aspect on that. So, all right. Well, let's move in our final question for today. If you could speak to every 15 to 25-year-old male, what's one piece of guidance you'd give about becoming a man and them being able to build their best life?
Who you want to answer?
Let's go first, Brother Furman. Take us there first.
All right, I'm looking. He said, if you could speak to every 15 to 25-year-old male, what's one piece of guidance you'll give about becoming a man? Okay, I would say learn yourself, learn how to fall in love with yourself, learn how to respect yourself. That's number one thing. What does scripture say? Love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I think also when the Apostle Paul said, no man yet hate his own flesh, but nurse and charity. So that's really going back to loving yourself. And that's something we never was taught to love yourself, value yourself, admire yourself, respect yourself, and that's why I would say just go back to learn how to love yourself.
All right. Deacon Dan, come
Well,
on and bring it home for us.
well, I agree with Brother Furman. I just I twisted just a little bit. But mine was like, I'll tell them be intentional about who you're becoming.
Right.
You know,
Right.
don't drift. Then
That's good.
right, don't drift. You got to decide because every choice you make, it shapes your future. One of the things you need to do, you got to build discipline. You got to protect your character and surround yourself with people who makes you better. And that's one thing that young people don't do. I mean, if you're going to surround yourself with people, you want friends, give them friends that can make you better. They can
That's
help
right.
you.
Iron sharp iron.
Then manhood isn't about perfection. It's about growth. And when you do that, you need to start now.
Man, listen, you guys have put that, y'all drove that home already. It ain't even nothing, probably too much more I could add on that, other than, find you a good mentor. Get you a good godly mentor. I'm gonna say it. Let me just say it that way. We need a godly mentor. You don't want just a good mentor. You want a godly mentor because a godly man will show you how to do it the way God would want you to do it, and not that you. And if you do it the way the Word of God tell us to do it, it'll turn out a whole lot better. So that's why I say find you a good godly mentor, someone that can help walk you through. Now, it don't all, I mean, if they ain't as godly, if they're a good person, they can still teach you some good character. They can still teach you some good attributes. But the thing about a godly man is he'll really teach you how to be a man, how to be a godly man. And I think that's what eventually makes you a good man. So today, I am so glad that each of you joined us as we went through our topic today, from boys to men. What a great topic. You know, yes, of course, we had a few little technical difficulties, but hey, we straightened it out in the end. Want to thank brother Furman Jackson Jr. for being on with us, and always the incomparable, I call him Dr. Deacon Dan Smith, for joining in and going through this topic. So, hey, listen, before we depart for the day, I want you to go out. Build Your Best Life is a book that you need to get that book. I've given that book to my grandchildren to read, and I want each of you to go out, purchase a book, and purchase that book. It's on Amazon. You can find the book. Get you a book and give it to someone to bless them with so they can read it. That book will give them so many golden nuggets to transitioning from a boy to a man. It'll set them up for great success. So I want to thank Coach Doc. I always call her Dr. Two, Coach Dr. Deborah Smith. I want to thank her for allowing us this space, this time, to be a part of her platform. And like I said, if you can't do nothing else, you know, share this video, share it with other single mothers or anyone you know that may need it. It don't matter whether they're single, it can be married couples. We can all gain some additional knowledge. So with that being said, we'll see you on the next second Saturday, right here, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, for Build Your Best Life with Coach Deborah Smith and our session of conversation with the guys. So have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you next month.
And also have a Merry Christmas.
Yes. Thank you, Deacon Dan.
You
Yeah.
want to come back to Happy New Year.
There you go. We always like to say that. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy New Year to each and every one of you. And hope everything turn out as a success for you.
Can I say this one thing before you go?
Yes, sir.
And I always like to tell a fella, don't do it your way, do it God's way.
That's the only way.
That's it. Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
All right, y'all have a good day.
Y'all do the same. Be blessed.
Be blessed.